All right, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about something that's, well, it's deeply personal and honestly pretty misunderstood. It's that immense difficulty some people have with just asking for help. We're going to unpack the psychology behind what we're calling silent independence.
So, to kick things off, let's just set the stage and talk about the struggle itself. What does this internal battle actually feel like? I mean, really, have you ever been there? You're just drowning in stuff to do, totally overwhelmed, but for some reason, you just can't bring yourself to say those simple words, "Can you help me?" It's such a powerful feeling, and for a lot of people, a really familiar one. It's so easy for people on the outside to just write it off, to say, oh, they're just being stubborn, or it's just pride. But the truth, it's way, way more complex than that. This isn't just some personality quirk. We're talking about a pattern that's been wired in deep with real psychological roots. And that's why we're giving it a name for this explainer, silent independence. It really captures it, right? Because this isn't about wanting to do everything by yourself. It's about this deep-seated feeling that you have to. Okay, so where does this all come from? Let's dig into the mindset behind it all, the powerful beliefs that really build this intense self-reliance. And here's the thing. This doesn't just pop up out of nowhere when you're an adult. Nope, it's a learned behavior. It's a conclusion someone draws, usually from stuff that happened way back in their early life, and it ends up shaping their entire way of dealing with the world. So, this really breaks down into two core mindsets. Think of them as two sides of the same coin. First, you've got the fix everything mentality. This is where you believe your worth is tied to how capable you are, so asking for help, that feels like admitting you failed. Then there's the hated child archetype. And that name isn't meant to be literal, of course. It's really a symbol for anyone who learned early on that support just wasn't coming. It was unreliable, or maybe just not there at all. So for them, asking for help doesn't just feel hard, it feels completely pointless, risky even. And you can see how this builds a whole worldview, right? When the world teaches you these harsh lessons over and over, what are you going to do? You adapt. You learn that the only person you can really 100% rely on is you. Self-reliance isn't a choice anymore. It becomes the only safe option, your main tool for getting through life. Okay, this next part it's probably the most important idea in this whole explainer. It's a huge shift in how we look at this. We have to stop seeing it as just a personality trait and see it as something way more fundamental. Here it is. For these people, independence isn't a choice, it's a survival strategy. Just let that sink in for a second. That one sentence, it changes everything. It reframes the whole behavior. It's not about being stubborn. It's about self-preservation. It's what someone had to do to survive. So you can see how this path gets built step by step. It's actually pretty logical. It all starts with the environment they grew up in. From that environment, they learn a lesson. Support isn't coming. So what's the next logical step? They develop a strategy. And that strategy is fierce independence. It's a shield they had to build just to get by. But here's the real twist, and it's kind of heartbreaking. That shield, the very thing that kept a person safe, the thing that helped them survive, well, in adulthood, it can turn into a cage. It ends up isolating you, and it stops you from building the exact kinds of supportive connections you actually need. So what does that cage feel like? What is the real weight of this kind of independence? Let's get into the burdens. Because even though it served a purpose back then, carrying that strategy into everything you do as an adult, man, it comes with a huge price tag. It's absolutely exhausting. It is just so heavy. And here's what that cost looks like. It brings us right back to that feeling we talked about at the very beginning, that feeling of drowning in tasks. But what's worse, every single time you push through alone, you're just reinforcing that painful, lonely belief that you are all alone. And that makes it almost impossible to build the kind of relationships we all need, ones built on trust and helping each other out. All right, so after all of that, where do we go from here? What's the point of understanding all this? How can we actually use it? At the end of the day, here's the most crucial takeaway. When we can shift our perspective, when we stop seeing this as a character flaw and start seeing it for what it really is, a survival strategy that was once absolutely necessary, everything changes. It opens the door for empathy. Empathy for other people who are going through this, and maybe even more importantly, empathy for ourselves. And that's the real question I want to leave you with. Think about it. Whether this is your story or the story of someone you care about, how does knowing why this happens change the story you tell about it? How does it change what you think about strength, about vulnerability, and about what it really means to be independent?